Good morning. First of all, it's my pleasure to welcome you to King's College formally on behalf of all of us here who are going to speak to you this morning. My name is Melissa Irving and I'm one of the Deputy Headmasters at the college, and my role is primarily pedagogy. So basically the stuff that happens in your classrooms and all the bits that go with that. King's is a school that prides itself on its high academic results and developing well-rounded students. And our wait lists, if they're anything to go by, if they're a measure of a school, would suggest that we're doing a pretty good job. Particularly in COVID times. So we have students, we have a school that's delivering effectively online. And when we went into lockdown, we missed 2 hours of lessons. 2 hours. Students went home, staff went home. The very next day we were delivering our full program online, lesson by lesson, in person. And I think that is reflected in the numbers of students trying to get into King's right now, but also in our academic results. Our results for over many years, but particularly in the last 2 years, have been phenomenal. So our philosophy is that we offer the best all-round education. I'll just check that went over, yeah. And how do we do that? Well, it involves a range of things. You'll hear about some of them today, but the thing that I'm going to focus on is from a teaching and learning perspective only. The driving force behind everything that we do is our King's graduate. This is our King's graduate profile behind me. So we decided that if we want to turn out a student like this, if when you walk out these gates in 5 years, we want to be able to say that you're flexible, you're adaptive, you're sympathetic, you've got a generous spirit, that you're kind, you think about the environment, you think about others. How do we do that? How do we do that? So the next step, I guess, if we decide that when you walk out the gates, we want to support you to become this type of person, the next thing we had to look at was our teaching staff. So who do they need to be in order to support you to be your best self, so to speak? So we have teachers. We have the best teachers at King's College. There's no question in my mind about it, and I work with them pretty much on a daily basis. So the next step was to develop or to find teachers that have expert subject knowledge, that are professional, that are compassionate, that are reflective, and are constantly changing what they do. Constantly thinking about new ways to deliver in the classroom. They could also be the attitudes and the things that we're looking for in our students. So once we found them, we had to come up with a model. Okay, so how do we know that that's going to work in the classroom? So we've got amazing young people, we've got outstanding teachers, and then we have to put those together to ensure that this sort of thing is happening in the classroom. So we developed a teaching model. You won't be able to read those unless, it's not up here yet. You won't be able to read those unless you've got X-ray vision or you're, amazingly talented. But there's 8 dimensions to the King's model. They are learning, internationalism, democracy, environment, adventure, leadership, service and spirituality. And these things guide our teachers in everything that they do. So, and again, unless you're really talented, you won't be able to read those either. But what it does is each dimension is broken down into things we expect to see in the classroom. It incorporates our King's values. It incorporates the values of the New Zealand education system and the curriculum. But they are very specific to us. These are the things that we would expect to see because we know that they generate excitement and enthusiasm in the classroom. These are the things that we would expect to see all our teachers doing. So you go, okay, cool, but all schools say they have those things, but how do you know it's going to happen? All of our staff every year go through a growth cycle, professional growth cycle review. So each year they have to think about something that they want to look at in their teaching practice. Now this they do with you, the students that are in front of them. So every year it's different and it's tailored to who is sitting in front of them at that time. It might be you, it might be a small group of you, it might be 5 students in your class. They decide how that works, but they work with the students on that. It is always learner focused. So you can see in this little diagram, you're at the centre of it. So anything that they decide to look at in their teaching practice has to be focused on the student. They're not going to do, I'm going to look at how I do, or I can't even think of anything that's not student focused at the moment because that's how I operate. It's got to be focused on you and enhancing your outcomes. Key to that is you guys. So part of what we do is we actively encourage our students to have a voice in their learning. We want you to participate in what happens in the classroom. So you will get asked, maybe once, maybe twice, maybe multiple times by different teachers, what it is that that teacher needs to do to improve learning for you in the classroom. What do I need to do? How do I make it better for you? You seem to be not very engaged in my lessons. What can I do to make it better for you? So you have a responsibility, and this is important. You have a responsibility to tell your teachers what they need to do to make your learning work for you. You'll be given the opportunity to do that. We expect you to give constructive feedback. So don't say, no, everything's fine, I really enjoy being in your lesson. If you don't, if there is something that that teacher needs to change, then we expect you, we ask you to give them that feedback. So please take advantage of that. Don't throw away a golden opportunity when you get that opportunity to give your voice. It looks a bit like this. Okay, you'll be given a series of questions. Someone will come in and take you through the survey. It takes 5-10 minutes. Okay, you click on a little continuum about where you think the teacher sits for you. So this one is me, Mrs. Irving, makes learning fun and exciting, and you might decide that I'm rubbish, and you might want to give me a 1. Hardly ever is my English class exciting. That would be disappointing. But it would be good to know that. If you're not enjoying it, then you should tell me. So you click the 1. Then you go on to the next question. And you might decide that I make the learning challenging, but not so difficult that you can't do it. And you're going to go, yeah, she does that all the time. The reason we ask you to do that is because it gives the teachers the opportunity to look at the things that they're doing well and to work on and to gather developmental feedback. These are the things that you need to develop, Mrs. Irving. And I go, okay, cool, for my Year 9 English class, which I do have this year, so I may well be teaching some of the people in this room, I need to work on this for this group of students. Cool, you're my only class, my Year 9 English class, so if you're in my class, I'm totally focused on making sure your learning is better. You also get the opportunity to give written feedback. We ask you to give positive feedback. So what is one thing or 2 things that the teacher does really well that you want them to keep doing? And what are a couple of things that they aren't doing so well for you that you would like them to do better? What would you like them to do better? Okay, these comments allow the teachers to identify the strengths, but also gives them some things to build on. All of this feedback that you give to teachers is completely confidential. There are no names, there is no way to work out who gives the feedback, and we feel that that provides you the opportunity to be really honest. You might really like your teacher, you might really like Mr. Mitchell when you're in his class, and because he's such a cool dude, which he is, you might not want to say, actually, Mr. Mitchell, you're really bad at getting our marking back on time, and I don't get enough feedback from you. Because you like him, you might not want to say that, but he needs to know that. So we make it anonymous to give you the opportunity to feel comfortable to give your feedback. Ideally, what we hope is, by the end of this teacher's professional growth cycle, we will see a change. And the little graph up there gives you an indication of what the teachers see. So when they first surveyed this class, the teacher was the light grey bar. So her students, was one of our female teachers, her students in history rated her as proficient initially, and by the end of the changes that she'd made from hearing from the students, she had progressed to masterful, as you can see. Teacher also gets areas that certain students have said, we would like you to work on this. So, the upshot is, we have really strong systems and structures in place to make sure that you get the best education that you can possibly get. But it's a two-way street, so to speak. So if you don't give our teachers feedback, they don't know what they need to improve on. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with that process in your current schools, whether you've had the opportunity to give your teachers feedback like that before, but you will hear, and we need you to take advantage of it.